Namaste, welcome back to Suvi English channel. In today's session, I am going to discuss another interesting story titled Toba Tek Singh, written by Saadat Hasan Manto. Saadat Hasan Manto was a Pakistani writer. Earlier he was an Indian, but later after partition in 1947, he became Pakistani. Through this story, Toba Tek Singh, Saadat Hasan Manto tries to show the miseries of people after partition. This story is set in a mental asylum, which means mental hospital in Lahore. Saadat Hasan was in Lahore, so he captured some of the incidents which took place in Lahore mental hospital. The main important character of this story is Bishan Singh, but everybody used to call him Toba Tek Singh because he was from a place called Toba Tek Singh in Pakistan. He was mentally ill and he was brought to that hospital 15 years ago, and he was there among other mental patients in Lahore Mental Hospital. And the story begins with an important announcement at the Lahore Mental Hospital, and the announcement was that both the government of India and Pakistan decided to exchange their inmates, exchange their mental lunatics between India and Pakistan, as they had exchanged the prisoners earlier. Earlier, after the partition, both the governments had exchanged the prisoners. All the Hindu prisoners who had their families in India were brought to India, and all the Muslim prisoners who had their families in Pakistan were sent to Pakistani prisons. So Hindu prisoners were brought to Indian jails and Muslim prisoners were sent to Pakistani jails so that their relatives could visit them. So likewise, it was decided to exchange the mental patients between India and Pakistan. So all the Hindu and Sikh patients were to be sent to Indian mental hospitals, and all the Muslim lunatics, Muslim patients were to be sent to Pakistani mental hospitals, that means Lahore Mental Hospital. And it was decided those Hindu and Sikh patients who had their families in Pakistan were allowed to stay in that Pakistani Lahore hospital, and those Muslim patients who had their families in India were allowed to stay in Indian mental hospitals. So this provision was made. After this decision, there was some confusion, and when this announcement was made in the Lahore mental hospital, there was confusion, there was opposition. Some of the mental patients could not understand what exactly is the exchange, and most of the patients who were there in Lahore mental hospital had no idea about partition and about this exchange. And whatever happens in this story all happened in Lahore mental hospital. The narrator Saadat Hasan Manto says that he had no idea about what happened in Indian mental hospitals. So he was there in Lahore, so he could see some of the responses of the people, including the mental patients, towards this decision called exchange and partition. So whatever we see in this story happened in Lahore Mental Hospital. Different patients at Lahore Mental Hospital responded to this decision differently. So this decision was received in different manner. Now let's see how the mental patients responded to this decision called exchange of lunatics between India and Pakistan. There was a Muslim patient in that Lahore mental hospital who used to read a newspaper called Jamindar. So once he was asked by his friend, so in the mental hospital there was one more patient, so he asked the one who was reading that Jamindari newspaper, and the question that he was asked was, what is Pakistan? And to this, that man who was reading who used to read a newspaper said that Pakistan is a place in India where cutthroat razors are manufactured. So this was what they had in their mind. And when this discussion was happening in that Lahore mental hospital, there were two sick mental patients. They were very unhappy because of this decision. They were being sent to India, though their families were there in Pakistan. So they expressed their unhappiness for separating the patients between India and Pakistan. So they were not happy with that. And one more interesting point we notice in this story, that's not all the people who got admitted in Lahore hospital were mentally ill. They were not mental patients. Some of them were really murderers. They were criminals. Their relatives managed to join them in the mental hospital by bribing the officials to escape the death punishments and all. They also did not have any idea about this partition and about this exchange of patients between two countries. They also had no idea about it. Some of them had off knowledge, some of them had no knowledge. But when they heard about this discussion, when they heard about this announcement, they all responded in a different way. There was one patient in that Lahore mental hospital. So once he was sweeping the floor, when he heard this discussion about the partition and all, he got so confused and he decided to climb up a tree, and he gave a lengthy speech. He gave 2 hours speech to the other mental patients in the mental hospital. And in the speech, he talked about some of the delicate problems of India and Pakistan. And when the hospital guards warned him to come down, he said that he neither wanted to be in India nor in Pakistan. He wanted to be in the tree itself. So that's how he protested, that's how he reacted to this decision. There was one more patient in that Lahore hospital. He was actually a radio engineer. He was an MSc graduate at that time. So he had that master's degree, but due to some reasons he became mad and he was admitted in that hospital. And the specialty of this patient was, he was not mingling with anybody. He used to take a long walk. He used to take food and he used to take long walk. He used to walk all the time alone. But one day when he heard about this Pakistan, India, Pakistan and all this, he was enraged with that kind of decision and he protested in a unique way. So he took off all his clothes and gave it to the god and ran into the garden. So that's how he protested against this kind of decisions. There was one more patient in that hospital who was from Chiniut in Pakistan. He used to take 15 to 16 times bath. He used to take bath 15 to 16 times a day. Every day he used to take bath 15 to 16 times. But when he heard about this decision, when he heard about this partition, India and Pakistan, he decided never to take bath. He gave up taking bath. That's how he responded to this announcement. There was one more patient in the hospital. He was actually a lawyer, a Hindu lawyer from Lahore. He was practicing law, but because of some reason he became mad and got admitted to this Lahore hospital. And the reason why he was mad was he was in love with a girl, and that girl was not loving him. His was one side love, and so he became mad and got admitted to this hospital. And this lawyer was from Lahore and that girl was from Amritsar. And when this partition took place, they both belonged to two different countries, and that news made this lawyer, Hindu lawyer, very unhappy, and he started blaming all the Hindu and Muslim leaders for separating them. Now let's discuss the main character in this story. The main character in this story is Bishan Singh. His name was Bishan Singh, but everybody used to call him Toba Tek Singh because he was from a place called Toba Tek Singh. So he got admitted in that Lahore hospital 15 years ago, and from the past 15 years he had been there in that hospital, and the speciality of him was he never slept even single day. He used to stand up and he used to be awake all the time. And when there was this discussion about India and Pakistan and the exchange of lunatics, he used to listen to all such discussions, and whenever he was asked to give his opinion about that exchange, he used to say something which was ununderstandable Upurde, Gurgurde, Annexde, something he used to say which was not at all understood by anybody. Before he became mad, he had a sweet family, he had an infant daughter, and he had some considerable land in his hometown, Toba Tek Singh. But all of a sudden, something happened to him and he became mad and he was brought to the mental hospital Lahore in chains by the relatives. And his relatives would visit him once in a month. Bishan Singh was not at all knowing what day it was, what month it was, what year it was. He had no idea about all that calendar dates and all. But his sixth sense would guide him, would help him to guess when his relatives would visit him. So he would know when they were going to come and he would take a long bath that day. He would scrub his body with a soap and put on some nice clothes, apply some oil, and he would be ready to meet his relatives. And as I told you, Bishan Singh had a daughter. Now she became a 15 years old girl, and she also would come with relatives to visit her father. And Bishan Singh would fail to recognize her, and looking her father in this condition, Bishan Singh's daughter would not hold back her tears. She would burst into tears, and the family members also were very sad looking Bishan Singh in that condition. But they would visit him once in a month. But all of a sudden, they also stopped visiting Bishan Singh because of some communal riots in Lahore. So due to those communal riots, the family members stopped visiting this hospital. So when this discussion about exchange of lunatics was happening in the hospital, Bishan Singh wanted to know where exactly his hometown Toba Tek Singh was. So he used to ask other patients in the hospital where exactly it was, whether it belonged to Pakistan or India. So he asked many people, but nobody gave answer because they were not at all aware of it. And the family members also stopped visiting him. If they were coming, at least they would have definitely helped him. They would have told him whether his hometown Toba Tek Singh belonged to Pakistan or India. There was one more patient in the mental hospital who declared himself as a god. Bishan Singh thought that at least this god would help him to find the answer to his question whether Toba Tek Singh was in India or Pakistan. So he asked godly man and requested. So he offered his prayer to give the exact answer whether Toba Tek Singh belonged to India or Pakistan. And when that godly man, that mental patient, heard his question, he said that Toba Tek Singh was neither in India nor in Pakistan. And he continued, in fact, he had not decided where to put Toba Tek Singh, whether to put in India or in Pakistan. He had not yet decided. That godly man said that he had not yet decided to put the Toba Tek Singh in India or Pakistan. And listening to this, Bishan Singh requested him to take necessary actions to do that. And when Bishan Singh asked him to pass the necessary orders, that godly man said that he was busy with other matters. Look at their innocence, look at their madness. Bishan Singh was asking about his hometown with everybody. He used to ask the wardens, he used to ask the officials whether Toba Tek Singh belonged to India or Pakistan, but they also did not know answer and they did not respond to his questions. But one day, one of his friends from same Toba Tek Singh place came to visit him. His name was Fazaldin. So Fazaldin was a Muslim friend. So Bishan Singh had a friend called Fazaldin. He was a Muslim. So they had not met for the past 15 years. But Fazaldin that day came to visit him. When he came to visit him, Bishan Singh failed to recognize him because of that long gap, and later Fazaldin told him that all the Sikh friends went to India, including Bishan Singh's family, and Fazaldin helped Bishan Singh's family members to go to India safely. Bishan Singh's family members were in Toba Tek Singh. The Toba Tek Singh was in Pakistan, so they wanted to go to India. But the Fazaldin, who was a Muslim who had family in the Toba Tek Singh, who wanted to continue in Pakistan, remained there, but he helped the family members of Bishan Singh to go to India. See, he was actually a true friend. A friend in need is a friend indeed, and this Fazaldin was a true friend. And after that, finally the date for the exchange was fixed, and the list of the mental patients who were to be sent to India was prepared, and all the patients were taken to the border, India Pakistan border, Wagah border, and there all the procedures were going on. One by one the lunatic was being sent to India from Lahore mental hospital. And when it was Bishan Singh's turn, he had no idea whether he had to remain in Pakistan or he wanted to go to India. So he asked the officials whether it was in India or Pakistan, and the officials said that Toba Tek Singh was in Pakistan. Bishan Singh, learning upon this that his hometown belonged to Pakistan, he became very disappointed, and he neither wanted to go to Pakistan nor India, so he remained standing between these two borders, and after some time he died. He collapsed in that no man's land. He collapsed and he died. And with this the story ends. And what we can understand from this story is that partition made even mentally ill patients also lose their identity. Many people lost their identity. The partition not only divided the lands, it actually divided the communities, it divided the friendship. And due to this, many people lost their identities, they lost their homes, and all that was seen in this story. So that's all about Toba Tek Singh. Thank you. Okay, now let's discuss the 2 mark questions that we get from this chapter, Toba Tek Singh. The first question is, what decision did the governments of India and Pakistan take with respect to the lunatics? And the answer is, they decided to exchange their mental patients, that means lunatics. They decided to exchange their mental patients between their countries. So this is the answer. And the second question is, why would everybody call Bishan Singh as Toba Tek Singh? So everybody at the mental hospital was calling Bishan Singh as Toba Tek Singh because he was from a place called Toba Tek Singh. So Bishan Singh was from a place called Toba Tek Singh. So because of that reason, everybody was calling him Toba Tek Singh. Right? Next question. Why did a Hindu lawyer from Lahore become mad? So there was a Hindu lawyer from Lahore. So he was admitted in that hospital. So why did he become mad? He became mad due to unrequited love. Unrequited love means it's a kind of one-side love. So because of that, he became mad and got admitted in that Lahore mental hospital. And the next question is, how did the family members of Bishan Singh bring him to the mental hospital? So Bishan Singh was brought to the hospital in chains. After he became mad, he was brought to the hospital in chains. And the next question is, how long had he been there in the hospital? So Bishan Singh was there in the hospital for 15 years. He had been there in the hospital for 15 years. That's the answer. And let's move on to the next question. How often would the relatives visit Bishan Singh in the mental hospital? So they used to visit him once in a month. The next question is, why did the family members stop visiting Bishan Singh? After some years, family members stopped visiting Bishan Singh because of communal riots in Lahore. And the next question is, what did the godly man say about Toba Tek Singh? So there was a mental patient in the Lahore hospital who declared himself as God, and he said that Toba Tek Singh was neither in India nor in Pakistan. Next question, who was Fazaldin? Fazaldin was Bishan Singh's friend. And the last question, who helped Bishan Singh's family members to go to India? So Fazaldin helped the family members of Bishan Singh to go to India after partition. So these are all the possible questions that we get from this chapter, Toba Tek Singh. Thank you.